Okay, I'm gonna get started. Has there ever been a time you felt like in your life where it's like, I'm making a ton of progress, I'm moving forward, I'm, getting to places that I want to get to, but then I almost feel like something stops you, like right in your tracks, right? Like it's holding you back. So let's close our eyes for a second and think about this. I want you to imagine you're walking down the street, like you can see like these tiles of this sidewalk, right? And you're just kind of walking along. It's nice, it's pretty nice outside. Like today, I know where I live, super nice outside. So it's like the perfect day to go do this. You walk out there, walking down the street, and like this big, huge wind gust hits. Like this 50, 60 mile an hour wind. Like, and that you're just moving forward, and then the wind hits, and you're just like, oh, right? It kind of pushes you backward, right? But then think about it. If that wind persists, right? Not only does it like push you backward a little bit and stop your forward momentum, I'm going to keep pushing you back and keep pushing you back, right? Until you make a choice in that situation. And that situation, the choice you can make is, um, I'm going to go back inside, right? Or you can make this concerted effort where you're like, no, seriously, all I got to do is move like this 5 feet in front of me because seriously, that's where the car is. I just need to get in the car, right? You can move forward like the 5 feet, but it's not going to be easy to move that 5 feet, right? This wind is just like boom, hitting you. But in order to move that 5 feet, it's not just, nope, I can just kind of slowly mosey on and get there. Nope. You have to literally like almost pick up each foot, stomp them down, and get going forward because that wind's just holding you back. Now I want us to take a second and think about this. How does that work in other ways in our life? Excuse me. Sometimes we keep taking these steps forward and we keep moving forward, and then something comes along, right? Something comes along and it like stops us right in our tracks. And a lot of times, I know this has happened to me. What ends up happening in that case is sometimes we just go, like, the first thing that happens is we go, like, whoa, like, what's going on? I kind of like puts the brakes on, right? We tell ourselves, okay, well, I didn't like that. That wasn't too fun. And then sometimes there's a few ways we can handle that situation, right? We can stop and go, okay, and then continue to take those mental steps forward in this case. And keep moving forward. Or what I feel like some of us do, or maybe a lot of us do sometimes, I know I've done it, is that what we do is we go, oh, that must not be what I was supposed to be doing. Right? Well, I got stopped by this one thing, so I must not be, doing the right thing. That's not necessarily the case. And we think to ourselves, okay, I'm just going to stop and I'm not going to really try that much right now. And I'm just going to stay here in this space that I currently am. But here's the thing about it. If we tell ourselves, okay, I'm just not going to change and I'm going to let things be just how they are right now, we're deceiving ourselves in saying we're going to stay in this exact same place because we can either change things around us or those things around us, they're going to change us and we're probably not going to like that change that it brings. Because if that wind is blowing and you just can, like, back to the actual physical example of walking down the street. If that wind is blowing and you just kind of stand there, right? And your feet aren't super planted in the ground. And you just kind of stand there and go, well, I'm just going to stay here till the wind stops, right? You're not going to stay in that spot. It's going to keep pushing you backwards. And that's how some of the challenges we come through in our life and handle it with us. We say, you know what? I'm just going to stop. I am not going to have anything ever change. I'm just not going to keep moving. I'm just going to stay right in this spot. But it'll almost be like during that windstorm, closing our eyes, feeling that wind blowing. And then when we open our eyes back up, we're 20 steps behind where we were. And that can happen in our minds, where we go, nope, I'm not going to pay attention to what's happening. I'm not going to acknowledge these things exist. I just don't want to have anything to do with it. And trust me, I've done it. I've done that exact thing. And you don't end up staying in the same place that you are. So what I would say is one of the first things we need to stop doing. Now, that's a big thing, right? Like, I don't know how many people in today's world say, well, in order to move forward and in order to get things done, most people say, okay, do this and this and this and this and this, right? And that's like, whoa, 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 whoa. That's so overwhelming. There's so many things there, right? But sometimes the best thing to do is stop doing certain things, because then that takes away from that overwhelm even a little bit more, right? And like, whatever situation you may be thinking about in your own head, I mean, that's entirely for you. It's not for me to decide. But sometimes there are things that we are currently doing in our life, like in our daily life, in our routine, in somewhere that the best option might be to stop. Like, I know for me personally, one of the things I've done over time is, I've been really bad in the self-talk towards myself. Like, oh, well, just for instance, years ago, I was horrendously bad at doing dishes. Okay, just terrible. So in that situation, I would really beat myself up about it. Like, why can't I get these dang dishes clean, right? And then just keep saying that to myself and keep saying it to myself. That's not going to take me anywhere, right? All that's going to do is get almost that same scenario as we've talked about in this example of walking down the street and that big burst of wind hitting you. You're going to go, that's it. I've had enough. I'm not even going to bother doing this again, right? Because then I would tell myself, well, if I don't do the dishes, then I won't screw up doing the dishes, right? But I'm sure you're probably telling yourself, yeah, but if you don't do the dishes, that's going to get kind of nasty really fast, right? Like this big overflowing sink. Like, just imagine that, this sink full of dishes that you left there for like 2 weeks. It's going to smell, it's going to be moldy, and it's not going to be good for anybody. So in that case, what I needed to do was stop beating myself up about how bad I was doing the dishes. Because honestly, I mean, and a lot of you probably understand this, the best way to, there's a couple ways to figure out how to do the dishes better, right? You keep doing it. It's like a kid riding a bike, right? The first time they get on the bike, they're probably going to fall. It just happens. You're not just going to put this, 3-year-old on a bike and go, okay, go. Like they're going to win this marathon in this bike. It's just not going to happen. As much the same for doing dishes. You're going to do it the first time and you're going to go, well, that sucked. But it doesn't have to continue to be that way. And in that situation, in order to give myself that kind of grace and leeway of, wow, I sure sucked at it this time. Yeah, this time. because this time is not next time, right? Next time, it could be better. I mean, it could be worse, it could be the same, but the odd state, the more that I try it, the better it's going to be, right? So that's one of the things I would highly suggest in our situations where we really want to see some progress, but we just aren't quite seeing what we want, is stop the negative self-talk. I know it's not going to be perfect because none of us ever are. But the thing about it is, even the slightest improvement is better, right? And then in that case, there's also, so if we're taking that negative self-talk piece out, like shoving it into the past, being like, you know what, in the past I was terrible with it, but the past is the past, right? And I have a choice. From this moment forward, I could try to replace that negative self-talk with something that's better. Because if I take the time out of my day that I'm in my own head saying these bad things, or if I'm actually verbally saying them, if I take that time out of the day, whew, it's going to add a lot of time. And here's the cool thing about it. What I'm suggesting to add in probably isn't going to take as much time as you're trying to take out. So my suggestion is, most people in their homes, they have a mirror, right? Like there's a mirror in most people's houses. I really don't know anybody that doesn't have one. You can stand in a mirror, and what you can do is choose one thing, seriously, and you talk to yourself in the mirror for like, seriously, 5 seconds. I know how hard, right? 5 seconds. And every day, you're going to say something similar, but you can change it up a little bit. Particularly if it involves something you don't feel you're super good at. Like if you feel like, for instance, let's say you say, you know what, I'm just not happy, right? But you kind of want to be happy, right? I don't know who sits there and says, I just want to be miserable. It's no fun to do that. If you choose happy, that's the thing you could say to yourself in the mirror. Instead of saying, I am happy, which might be very difficult to say for yourself if you're not feeling that, you'd go, you know what, I'm just lying to myself, right? And I've tried it exactly that way, saying, I am happy. Then I'm like, yeah, but I'm not, but I can go to the mirror. And instead of saying, I am happy, because, in my perception, in that situation, I wasn't. But I can go to the mirror, and what I can say is, I choose happy. And that's like a conscious decision I can make right now. That's a conscious decision I could make every second of every day if it was so needed. I can just choose it. All right? A choice is a choice just at the moment. And that's all it is. So I can stand in front of the mirror and tell myself, I choose happy. And at least for that moment, I can choose that happy. Now, whether it fully like sinks in and I feel it, that's another story, because I'm going to tell you, if you do it only like one time, you're probably not going to see a difference. And in that, it's something I would highly suggest to do on a daily basis. Whatever quality or trait, or accomplishment you want to talk to yourself in the mirror for 5 seconds, for like that one sentence. If it's, you feel like you have no money and you say, yeah, I've just been poor my whole life. You could change it to, I choose abundance. Totally different, right? Because while you may not currently have it at the moment, it's a choice you can make to say, you know what? That's something I desire. And that can go for so many different things. that, you know, this is like a fill in the blank sentence just for you to use. Now, there's a reason I want you to do it in the mirror. There's a definitive reason for that, because I want you to be able to see what you look like when you're saying it. Because there's a lot of times, like if I'm just walking down the street and want to say it, I could go, I choose happy. Like, that's not going to help, right? And the cool thing about looking in the mirror, though, is if you do that the first time, you can go, oh no, that wasn't good. Because like you're sitting there, you can see it. And then you can go, okay, let me try this different. You can look in the mirror and then maybe it's more of a, okay, I am like face to face looking in the mirror. Like you're looking into your own eyes in there, you know? Say, I choose happy. And there's a few things I would suggest to do in this situation is pay attention to if your head tends to be turned one direction or another. So if your head is turned towards the left, generally, like if you're unconsciously doing it, it's like I'm just looking towards the left. Generally, that means subconsciously we're looking into the past. And then the right is going to be the exact opposite. If you're finding yourself looking towards the right, that's the future. And if it's you just stand there and it's like you're like straightforward looking at yourself, you're in the present. Now, I would not necessarily suggest looking into the past for an I choose statement. You know, because we can't go back into the past. We can only at the moment be in the moment, right? Like what I said 5 seconds ago, I can't change. That's the past. I can choose what I say to myself right now, and I can be authentic in myself and have the best intention to choose those things for the future. So when it comes to, you know, things kind of like we've been talking about, I like to use 4 words that start with the letter C. Like, this is going to be so easy to remember because all the letters C, right? And I would suggest write them down, do what you have to do. Because when we're talking about, you know, that wind gust came and, you know, just about knocked us over, or whatever that challenge in your mind is, the word is challenge, right? There's a challenge in your life, right? You have a challenge. I don't understand, you know, no, I understand entirely that every single one of us has some kind of challenge. All of us do. You know, and the challenges are going to be different for everybody. Someone could have a similar challenge to you, but they're not you, so they don't know 100% how you're experiencing it. So the first word is challenge. So that challenge hits you, right? And the second C I want to bring up is the word choice. Again, kind of what we talked about, right? We have a choice of what direction we want to go when that big gust of wind comes at us, right? We can let it push us backwards. We can stay right in the spot, which ultimately is probably going to push us backward anyway, or we can choose to go forward. The choice is ours to see, you know, that's entirely our choice, what we want to have happen in that situation. The third one, and this one, I know a lot of people say, oh, that one's so hard. I'm going to explain it a little bit though. The third C is courage. I know a lot of people say, yeah, but I don't have courage. Like, and here's the thing. I'm going to let you in on a secret. Courage is not like an attribute or a quality. Courage is, what was the last C we talked about? Choice, right? Because I could sit here and say, you know, my entire life I've been perfectly okay and felt great about public speaking. That's not true. Not at all. Courage is a choice. And then the fourth C, like you experience the challenge. You have to make a choice. Then you choose some courage. And the fourth C is probably the most important one. You experience change. When you experience change that you have brought on to yourself, that is the time in your life that you can really start moving forward and seeing the results and the progress that you want to see. Now, I want to invite you to do something. So you can actually like physically see this for yourself. Seriously, like tonight, before you go to bed, go outside. Okay. Take yourself outside. And like it could be, the stairs outside your house, or you could drive somewhere and do it. Like, I want you to go out there and you walk forward one step, two steps, two steps. Then I want you to take one single step backwards, right? So you went one, two forward, you went one back. I want you then to turn your head and look at the fact that even though you went that one step backwards, that even though you went that one step backwards, do the math. You went two steps forward before it. And you, in that, will see that your net result is you're farther ahead than where you began. So I challenge you, do that tonight. Like, if you can do it right now, go do it right now. Go outside, take that two steps forward and take one step backward and look at the difference in the progress that you made.